Hey there, and welcome to Carolina News Now. I am Maddie Gardner. Happy Friday. You made it to the weekend, so we can all take a deep breath and let that out. For some of you, it may be a 3-day weekend with Memorial Day happening on Monday. We're going to get to some stories about Memorial Day later on in this show. But first, here on Carolina News Now, we update you on stories around the Carolinas, both North and South Carolina, to get you caught up before we head into the weekend. We will also have your weekend weather forecast. We might have to dodge some storms before we can get out. Maybe some of you are traveling, so we'll get you that forecast here in just a few minutes. But first, we want to head down to Charleston, South Carolina, with a story that Carolina News Now has been following for nearly a month. A deadly crash on Mother's Day that killed a mother and her 2 daughters, involving a Charleston County Sheriff's deputy. Now the family of the mother and the 2 daughters who died in that crash are calling for transparency. We want to turn to Blair Sobel with the story.
Their sheriff T-boned this family. It's not rocket science.
It's been 17 days since Stephanie Dantzler and her 2 daughters, Shanice and Miranda Dantzler Williams, died after a Charleston County Sheriff's Office deputy collided into their car on Mother's Day. The deputy behind the wheel, Emily Pelletier, has been on paid administrative leave since, much to the dismay of family and advocates.
Demand is that Sheriff's Deputy Emily Pelletier be terminated immediately, charged immediately, and arrested immediately.
They argue it's taking too long to get an accident report or any evidence to create a case. The sheriff's office has not admitted fault or reported that Pelletier is responsible for the deaths.
We don't know what's going on. It hurts me when I leave my mom's house and I ask my mom, does she want me to bring anything back before I leave town? And she tells me, if you could bring them 3 back, you know, I don't need nothing else.
South Carolina Highway Patrol is investigating the crash, including video of the scene, which has not yet been released.
When she got elected, she promised that she was going to be transparent. Her first day on the job, Jamal Sutherland was killed. That video wasn't released for months later. That was just last year. And look at us now, back here again.
Highway Patrol has not responded to our requests for an update at this time. Blair Sabol, Live 5 News.
Blair, thank you so much. And of course, we will keep you updated, as we have been for the past month, about that story. Our hearts go out to the families of all involved. Moving now to Charlotte, North Carolina, where people are waiting on a bus and it never shows up. It is happening to thousands of people who ride CATS buses here in Charlotte. It's happening so often that they started calling them ghost buses because they just don't show up. They never come. David Hodges pulled the data and explains how this is impacting people.
Do you feel like you can count on this bus?
No.
In February, we tagged along with Brian Williams on his way to work at South Park Mall. But Williams said between January and February, the CATS bus failed to show up at all 6 separate times.
When I have to take an Uber, I'm pissed off because I'm trying to save money and get myself out the situation.
New data obtained by WBTV shows Williams is far from alone in his frustration. After WBTV requested the information, CATS revealed that from January through March, there were nearly 9,000 missed trips. Some riders are calling them ghost buses, meaning the scheduled bus doesn't show up at all. That left people like Williams waiting for the next bus or finding a different way to get to work altogether.
It's not the system, it's the people that are running the system that are doing stuff wrong. And until they fix those people, nothing is going to change.
We did talk with Mr. Williams, and I'm keenly aware of his problem.
We also spoke with CATS CEO John Lewis in February. He said the CATS driver shortage, mostly responsible for the missed trips, is not unique.
His issue is a labor-related issue that we will deal with, and no different than every other industry, not only here in Charlotte, but nationwide.
So we compared CATS' performance with several other similarly sized transit organizations. Even with the nearly 9,000 ghost buses, CATS reported it still had buses for 97% of the total trips from January through March. Lynx in Orlando said it made 96% of its trips. Milwaukee County Transit System made more than 99% of its trips. According to the data, CATS buses also perform very well when it comes to being on time, called on-time performance. In Charlotte, a bus is considered on time if it's less than 5 minutes late and no more than a minute early. Most recently, CATS buses showed up on schedule 84% of the time. Detroit was at 69%, Lynx and Orlando at 76%, and Milwaukee County also at 84%. A lot of this is determined by traffic and congestion, but there's one other big factor. CATS has not been counting the nearly 9,000 missed trips against its on-time performance. If it did, it would be closer to 80%. We asked CATS why it wasn't counting missed trips as part of its on-time performance. A spokesperson said they only count provided trips to refine schedules and trips. We also asked how CATS is addressing the ghost buses, but the spokesperson just identified what the problem was again.
David Hodges reporting for us this evening. So David, thank you so much. We turn now to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Maybe some of you are planning a trip there for the long weekend, or perhaps you have a vacation coming up with the family this summer in Myrtle Beach. If you've been, you know it is hard to find a parking spot so you can park and go enjoy the sand and the water. But finding a parking spot may soon only be half of the battle, because the Myrtle Beach City Council is considering raising the cost of parking meters in the city. Here's Zach Wilcox.
I think here it's more expensive.
Yeah. It's summertime, which means the sight of tourists like Liz and Adriana trying to figure out how much they're going to need to pay for a day at the beach has become a pretty common one. Now, they're used to paying for parking back home in Richmond, Virginia, but tell me they were surprised to see just how expensive Myrtle Beach is.
For me, I mean, we're used to not paying this much.
Yeah,
so. Not this much. Yeah.
Liz and Adriana may have to budget a little more if they plan on coming back to Myrtle Beach, because parking rates could be heading even higher. Right now, Myrtle Beach has 3 tiers: oceanfront, which is $2 an hour, downtown, which is $1.75, and the rest of the city runs at $1.50. The budget proposed for next year will cut it down to 2 more expensive tiers: $3 for oceanfront and downtown spots, and $2 everywhere else. Myrtle Beach spokesperson Mark Pruitt tells me the change shouldn't be too bad for visitors used to visiting cities like Myrtle Beach.
It's still lower than a lot of the communities that we compare ourselves to, but it's a sort of a medium increase, but it does catch us up to where we ought to be after not doing anything for the last 7 years.
Myrtle Beach would still be cheaper than Tybee Island, where oceanfront parking is $3.50 an hour, and Wrightsville Beach, where some spaces are as high as $5 an hour. However, cities like Savannah and Charleston only charge $2 an hour at downtown meters. As far as all that extra cash, crew tells me it would go straight back into downtown.
The money stays into the area from which it was raised, so it goes back into downtown projects, downtown events. Through the years, it's helped do the streetscapes that we've done downtown, and a lot of the special events that we do downtown.
Liz knows where she'd like to see her extra change go for the next time they're in town.
I would say maybe a park. I haven't seen a park.
That's true.
Meteorologist Rachel Coulter joins us now. Rachel, many people will have a 3-day weekend for Memorial Day weekend. So what are we expecting in terms of the forecast?
So fortunately, by the weekend, we're looking pretty good across the Carolinas. We're going to be warming up. We'll be dry. We'll see lots of sunshine as well. We just have to get through Friday first. We do have the potential for severe weather across the Carolinas, as we're seeing for your Thursday as well. So you can see that level 1 out of 5 are your marginal risk for Charlotte down towards Columbia and extending east towards the east coastline. So Wilmington's included in that, the Outer Banks as well. And then you have that level 2 out of 5 risk, or your slight risk for severe weather. That includes Charleston and Raleigh. Fayetteville is going to be included in that as well. So something to keep in mind. We're also going to be looking for the potential for some flash flooding, excessive rainfall. You see that yellow shading over the Raleigh area. That's certainly going to be looking at that potential, as well as really from the Piedmont and points eastward. Temperature wise though, let's talk about the weekend, because once we get towards Saturday and thereon all the way through Monday, actually looking pretty nice. Temperatures will be warming from the 70s for the start of the weekend to the low 80s by Memorial Day in the mountains. We'll be looking at the low 80s to start off in the Piedmont region, at least for Saturday, but we're in the upper 80s, closing in on that 90-degree mark for the second half of the weekend and heading into your Memorial Day. And there's a look at your temperature forecast along the coast. We're going to be looking at temperatures in the upper 80s in Wilmington, mid to upper 80s in Charleston, right around 80 degrees across the Outer Banks this weekend.
Rachel, thank you so much. She is joining us later on in the show to give us that travel forecast. Excuse you. So if you're heading out of town this evening, she'll be sure to tell you what the weather is going to look like then. Coming up on Carolina News Now, stick around. We have a lot ahead. A woman pleads guilty to a horrible crime, leaving her newborn in a trash can. This happened in Wilmington. We'll have a full report from the courtroom. Plus, Jacksonville police just hired their first social worker, how he's going to help police officers deal with the mental health burden of being on the force. And fallen veterans are being honored on Carolina Beach with a memorial reef. Hear about this unique way to pay tribute. And again, we'll get another check of your weekend forecast. That's all coming up when Carolina News Now returns in just 45 seconds. Stick around. Happy Friday and welcome back to Carolina News Now. Thanks for sticking around with us. I'm Maddie Gardner. If you are just joining us, Carolina News Now is powered by television stations in both North and South Carolina. So every week at the end of the week before the weekend, we bring you the top stories from both states. I want to head now to the North Carolina coast for just a horrible story. A mom who pled guilty to abandoning her newborn baby in a trash can could now spend up to 20 years in prison. This all unfolded in New Hanover County courtroom this week. Zach Solon was there. He learned more about what happened before passerbys found that child.
Mary Uri Macedo abandoned her newborn son in a Wilmington trash can nearly 2 years ago. Now she'll spend the next 16 years in prison. Prosecutors say the 23-year-old had every intention of killing her baby boy.
We just felt like the fact that she had a 2-year-old child that she loved and took care of, and the length of time that she spent from the time that this child was born at 8 o'clock in the morning till when she decided to abandon him in that garbage can, 7-8 hours later, that this was a premeditated decision from her.
The DA says a law in North Carolina could have prevented what happened. Macedo could have taken advantage of North Carolina's safe surrender law. It allows parents to give up a child within 7 days after they're born without any legal consequences.
She was given ample opportunities with pamphlets to get free Medicaid, to get services from physicians, services in the community. She was given prenatal vitamins. She chose not to accept any of that. So we felt like this was a premeditated act.
Holly Royals with New Hanover County Child Protective Services says babies are rarely surrendered under that law, but she wants parents to know it's an option.
We would encourage people that are considering a plan of adoption to think of that prior to the birth, or to go through an adoption agency where they can be a part of making that plan and, ensuring that their baby's needs are met and that they've given all the information that baby needs.
But Macedo left her child to die. Luckily, he survived and is doing well today, but his mother will pay the price.
We felt like this really was an atrocious and cruel way to try to end a child's life.
Reporting in Wilmington, Zach Solon, WBTV News.
Thank you so much for that update. Just a horrible story there. We're going to stay in North Carolina on the East Coast. We're heading to Jacksonville, North Carolina, where the police department there, they just hired their first mental health employee there. They are calling this person a social worker. Now, the Jacksonville Police Department already has a crisis counselor on the payroll, but this person, this new social worker, is there to help the members of the force. And the National Alliance on Mental Health, they estimate between 18 and 24% of dispatchers, 911 dispatchers who answer those calls and send the police or the fire department out to you, and 35% of police officers, they suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. So we're going to turn now to Derek Rush, who spoke with officials from the police department about this new hire and how it's going to help.
Attached to Dave Reese's names are the title of retired U.S. Marine, a master's degree in social work, and now the title of first social worker for the Jacksonville Police Department.
It's big shoes, a lot of expectations. I love to be able to kind of forge the path here.
Along with the addition of Reese, Dr. Toby Gilbert works full-time at the Department of Public Safety as a crisis counselor for officers and explains the need for added mental health resources for law enforcement.
Generally, most crises, like you say, happen because somebody or their situation has become so overwhelming that their coping skills are tapped out. Public safety is a 24/7 responsibility. The world doesn't stop because it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Having the availability to respond 24/7, we provide them additional education. Our goal here is not to arrest crises. We want to get people the right help.
When a police officer goes out on a scene of a crisis call, I mean, they really only have two choices. They can take them to jail, or they can take them to the hospital. But now with the crisis counselors, we have a third option. And it has, I think, to some extent, bridged that gap with our community.
With his military background and a degree to back him up, Reese says being relatable with other people in the department is a big part of the job.
I think it helps when they come in. It's not about, hey, whatever you say to me, I'm going to go and run and tell somebody, and now you're going to lose your badge. That's not it. It's, hey, come in, let's intervene before we get to a point that it's too late to do anything about.
And that was Derek Rush reporting for us from Jacksonville this afternoon. Derek, thank you so much. An important hire there, and we certainly hope it helps. Memorial Day weekend is just ahead. For most, it's a 3-day weekend. You want to hear the forecast. We're going to get to that in just a moment, including what it's going to look like when you hit the road tonight for any weekend plans. But of course, Memorial Day is a day to remember fallen veterans, and families of fallen veterans on the North Carolina coast hope you do just that. In Wilmington, the Veterans Memorial Reef Organization, they offer a unique way to honor those memories. They create an artificial reef on Carolina Beach for wildlife to enjoy. Cassie Simmons is at Carolina Beach with this unique story.
It was a bittersweet morning for families of fallen veterans just off of the Carolina Beach coast. They said goodbye for the last time.
When I'm gone, release me, let me go. I have so many things to see and do.
8 families let go of their loved ones on Monday as they made the Atlantic their final resting place.
These veterans, whether they served for 2 years or 30 years, that they've actually placed their lives and did a selfless act by putting something bigger than them for the nation, really.
In honor of their sacrifices, the Veterans Memorial Reef provides a way to keep their memories alive in the form of an artificial reef containing their remains.
It was emotional, but beautiful, and I felt like Sean got the honors that he deserved.
He served his country with honor and dignity and conducted himself in life in that manner as well. And being a part of this with these families going through the same things, it was a pretty cool experience.
He loved the water. It was a fundamental part of his training in the Marine Corps, and he spent most of his life around water, near water.
The ocean, the dolphins, scuba diving, and surfing.
Leaving a legacy of serving his country on land and sea. This is only the second year that organization has offered this experience to families of fallen veterans, but they hope to continue this work in offering closure to those families as well as helping the Carolina coastline. In Carolina Beach, Cassie Simmons, WBTV News.
Back with meteorologist Rachel Coulter. It is a busy travel weekend. Many people are taking vacations, so we have to see what that forecast is looking like, Rachel.
That's right. And unfortunately, if you're going to be traveling on Friday, we do have that potential for some strong to severe storms, some flash flooding across the Carolinas, especially central and eastern, North and South Carolina Friday, but it should be out of the way by this weekend. So I do want to time this out for you, and I've overlaid your temperatures as well. So pinpoint where you live and see what those temperatures will look like as we work our way through the day. Certainly going to be warmer than where we have been here the past couple of days. So that's 9 o'clock Friday morning. We could have that line of strong storms working its way to the eastern portions of North and South Carolina with some trailing showers and storms possible. It's going to be lower in coverage than what we're seeing Thursday night and into Friday morning. But overall, do keep that in mind as you work your way towards the evening hours on Friday, that you still could have a little pop-up shower, maybe a storm move through the area, with those stronger storms staying confined off towards the east. But here's the good news. Here's 9 o'clock. Now keep in mind, we'll probably have some cloud cover lingering as that upper level low moves overhead for our mountain communities. But overall, more sunshine than clouds, just a few trailing showers on the east coastline. That's Saturday at 5 o'clock. Temperatures likely in the 80s for most of us, 60s and 70s for our mountain communities. And then heading into Sunday, we're looking at a similar day, if not warmer. We're going to see sunshine to start and finish. We'll stay dry even through your Memorial Day as well. But do keep in mind those temperatures will be closing in on that 90-degree mark by the time we get into next week.
Rachel, thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to Carolina News Now this week. Again, 6 television stations across North and South Carolina bringing you the top stories to get you all caught up before you head out for the weekend. We are here every week on Thursday evening and Friday afternoon, and we hope to see you again. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm Maddie Gardner.